না না এখন করিস না, লাইভ করে দিচ্ছিস।
মিল্টু অ্যাটেন্ডিজ সবাইকে মিউট করে দাও।
Kundu is the secretary. Shivashish Kundu. Devojyoti Ganguly is the president. Shivashish Kundu is the secretary.
15-20 seconds very well for
ভিউ হচ্ছে তো?
And joint secretary is the Devolina Saha. Joint secretary is only one lady is there. His name is Devolina Saha. Shivashish Kundu is the secretary and Devolina Saha is the joint secretary.
Okay.
So I think now we should start. Tapan sir.
Yes, you can start.
Already we are 5 minutes late.
Time is over.
So
Yes.
now I am muting everybody, video as well as the sound. So then we should start. Okay. So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome everyone to the IPJ Live Webinar Series 2020. So today Live Webinar 2. Firstly, I like to thank all of you participants for making Live Webinar 1 very much successful, and thank you to joining us for today's webinar. My name is Miltu Kumar Ghosh. I am Assistant Professor of NSHM Knowledge Campus, Kolkata. Then I would like to thank you, Honorable Mr. Tapan Kumar Chaudhary, Organizing Secretary of that webinar, as well as the General Secretary of IPGA Bengal branch, for organizing such interesting webinar series and giving us your precious time from your busy schedule. And I want to say that if Tapan sir not boosting us, then it was not possible to a such nice webinar series, because all time and every day he is calling me and boosting us to do that. So thank you very much, Mr. Tapan Kumar Chaudhary, and we are very much flattered to you with us. So today we are presenting the topics building career in pharmaceutical manufacturing, presented by Mr. Sampad Bhattacharya. So introduction will be given, I think, our honorable moderator of our speaker. Now I'd like to introduce the organizer of the webinar program, Dr. Arun Garg, General Secretary, IPGA Delhi, Directorate, World College of Pharmaceutical Science, Haryana. Mr. Obhijit Sengupta, Moderator, Advisor of IPGA Bengal Branch, Director of GNI PhD. Mr. Tapan Kumar Chaudhary, ex-Assistant Director, Director of Drug Control, Government of West Bengal, Organizing Secretary of that webinar, General Secretary of IPGA Bengal Branch, and Mr. Gautam Sen, Director, State Drug Control Research Laboratory, Government of West Bengal, Patron of that webinar, and President of IPGA Bengal Branch. So before we go ahead, I would like to add some words. We all know the current pandemic situation all over the world, and now the world can understand better the role of pharmacists in the medical field. So now, without more further ado, we'll turn the time over to Mr. Tapan Kumar Chaudhary, Organizing Secretary and General Secretary of the Bengal Branch, to say something. And before that, just I want to give some information, just a little housekeeping before we get started. Your active participation is important throughout the session. Right now, I have everyone on mute to avoid the background noise that may distract you from listening to the webinars. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the questions box in your control panel. So thank you again. So I am requesting Mr. Tapan Kumar Chaudhary to start your inaugural speech of today's.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is a great privilege to me to welcome Mr. Sampad Bhattacharya. He is a great man to attend our seminar. He has already attended our seminar to give a speech regarding the building career in pharmaceutical manufacturing. He has a 30 years experience in product development, quality, and supply chain. And he was the ex-vice president of global operation in Sun Pharma. I think he's a man. It's a good experience regarding this manufacturing, quality, regulatory, and supply chain. So he will deliver a good lecture for the student, teachers, and all those who are attending at our webinar. I would like to warm welcome to Mr. Dr. Arun Garg. He has given a time to attend our seminar. He is the Secretary General of our IPGA, New Delhi, and he is the Director of World Pharmaceutical College at Haryana. He has also give us so many advice from his end to develop these webinars. I would like to heartiest welcome to my boss and elder brother and sir also, Dr. Abhijit Sengupta is the director of GNI PhD, advisor of our IPGA Bengal branch, and all the time he has advised and pushed us to do something for the student and teachers also. So I would like to extend my warm welcome to Mr. Gautam Sen. He's the president of IPGA Bengal branch. He is my colleague. He was my colleague once upon a time. I have retired from drug control department, but he is also servicing over there. So he will be also very enthusiastic man to give the suggestion and every work. I would like to thank all of the executive members, the senior most member, Ritu Sinha, N. Sinha, Jayant Ghosal, Mr. Rathindranath Rai, Mr. Vishwajit Mukherjee, Mr. Sudeep Ganguly, and so on. Purnimadi also. There are so many executive members. They're all the time to come together and gathered and decided to organize this seminar. And lastly, I would like to extend my heartiest welcome to all the students who had joined these seminars in different part of the country, because we have seen the last seminar, yesterday seminar, they are so delighted to attend this seminar, and they have gathered their full knowledge. They gathered several type of knowledge regarding this drug development. There's a new drug development. Today, I think they will be very helpful to hear these seminars, which will be delivered. Mr. Sampad Bhattacharya, he has a 38 years experience in this manufacturing field. He is competent enough to guide you guys, and please listen him and question him accordingly. So thank you all these panelists, and I lastly thank to Mr. Dr. Abhijit Sengupta for moderate these seminars. He nicely moderate last day also. So many thank all these members of IPGA and IPGA Student Forum. I would like to extend my heartiest welcome to IPGA Student Forum. They have a tremendous energy to do something. They always call me how to develop the pharmacy profession, how to develop himself in this profession. So please listen this, and many thanks for attending this seminar. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your nice speech, Mr. Tapan Kumar Chaudhary. So now the next, I request you, Dr. Arun Garg, General Secretary IPGA Bengal, IPGA Delhi, Director, All College of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Haryana. So I am requesting you to share something about our webinar.
Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir.
I am delighted to be here as a member of the Central IPGA team. I am General Secretary of IPGA, and very excited to welcome all the members of IPGA and also the students who are attending this program. I am thankful to Dr. Gautam Sen and my friend Dr. Tapan Chaudhary, who have been consistently working with me from the last 15 days regarding this series of webinars. And yesterday it was a very wonderful webinar about the drug discovery and development. And there were so many participants. This second webinar is also going to be very excited because we have Mr. Sampad Bhattacharya, who has a lot of experience in the field of pharmaceuticals at various levels in product development, as a plant manager, quality control officer, supply chain, all the things which you need to develop a career in the pharmaceutical manufacturing. And this is going to be good also for all the students who wanted to have a career in the manufacturing. So entrepreneurship is the ability to develop and organize or run business with lot of uncertainty and then be able to earn the profit. So the students who have the dream to be a manufacturer in pharmaceutical or maybe in herbal or maybe in cosmetics, to run your own venture and to fulfill your dreams or to fulfill your innovative ideas, you need to have a complete understanding of the healthcare industry. What are the products? What are the processes to be followed? How the manufacturing practices? What are the recent manufacturing practices? How the plant and machinery is to be used? The quality assurance, the quality control, and above all, the regulatory affairs or regulatory rules and for manufacturing a product, because quality is the main thing regarding the drugs and pharmaceutical. Then packaging, export, cash flow, and funding, and also the marketing of the product. I think Sampad Bhattacharya ji will be able to give you a light on all these areas because he has lot of experience. So, and I am also thankful to my IPGA EC members, our advisors, SL Nasa ji, PK Jaggi ji, Bhanu Dua ji, Atul Nasa ji, and all others who have been working hard to see that the profession of pharmacy attains a very good height. I am also very thankful to our Central IPGA Student Forum, who always come with the new ideas. Like Tapan Kumar has already said that they are full of energy, they are full of dreams, they are full of innovations. They come out of the box ideas, and they are doing several activities from the past 5 years and have shown that their strength along with the IPGA team can do wonders. So I am also thankful to our IPGA Central Team President Ziba Khan, Tanish Sharma as a Secretary, and Rajesh Kumar as a Treasurer. And I also came to know that the IPGA Student Forum West Bengal branch, Debajyoti Ganguly as a President, Subhashish Kundu as a Secretary, and Devalina Shah as a Joint Secretary are also doing several activities along with the IPGA West Bengal branch. Recently, IPGA Student Forum Central has done Invictica, a program to guide the GPAT aspirants with experts, and last year topper of GPAT. So it was a very wonderful and very successful program with more than 300 participants. They have taken the tips or the things how to crack the GPAT examination. So I hope that this program, Building Careers in Pharmaceutical Manufacturing, is going to be a successful one. Thank you so much. I once again thank the IPGA West Bengal branch and other members. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Dr. Garg, for your nice speech. Now, I like to hand over the session Professor Dr. Abhijit Sengupta to moderate the sessions. Okay, Professor Sengupta.
Thank you, Miltu. Really, we had a
Welcome,
very
sir.
enthusiastic speech by Tapan and a very informative speech by Dr. Garg. So I'm really privileged to be the moderator of this session. And since yesterday, the beginning of the session, we had nearly 300 participants in our this webinar, and today also already we have more than 200 participants in this webinar. And this, for the information of everybody, this is also streamed live by YouTube. In YouTube, it is being streamed, and more than 1,400, I think, nearly 1,500 people have seen this webinar of yesterday, and there will be lots of people seeing this webinar today also. Sir, due to this situation which has been created by the COVID, I think this is the new order of the day, which has created a new normal for us at the present and new normal for the future also. And that is, everything is going digital, everything is going online. To introduce Mr. Sampad Bhattacharya, he was just a year senior to me in Jadavpur University. And I remember him a lot because after passing out and, he started his career maybe with drug control for a very short stint. And then he was over to western part of India mostly. He worked in, as the alumni, he was a very famous person. Rather, I would not shy away by saying that he was a role model for many of the pharmacists of Jadavpur University. He held very leading positions in manufacturing operations, production, product development, technology transfer, quality, regulatory, and supply chain functions, etc. And later, he was the senior vice president of Sun Global Operations at Sun Pharmaceuticals. Now, Mr. Bhattacharya is having quite a lot of publications, international peer-reviewed journals, and he has got several patents to his credits, international patents. Without wasting much more time, because we people in West Bengal know Sampad Bhattacharya quite a lot, most of the students, and even I have seen my students, they are very, very junior to you. My students also know that one Sampad Bhattacharya, the vice president of global operations in Sun Pharma. So the stage is to you. Please be forward with your lecture, sir.
Thank you very much, Avijit, for such a nice introduction. So, shall we start the presentation? And
yeah, I'll say, Miltu, you can means. I think you are having the slide.
Yeah. Already, sir,
it is there.
is ready. Yeah.
Shall I share the screen or?
Yes, sir. You should share the screen.
Share the screen. Please share the screen. Yeah, it's okay. Fine.
Can you make it presentation mode, please?
Yeah. Yes, again, good afternoon to everybody, and thank you very much for organizing this wonderful webinar. The subject, I think that there should be useful to the students and the fresh graduates. As you know, when we started the career, we grabbed whatever came in our way without knowing what is in store for us. But today is the era of informed choice. So that's why this endeavor is to share information with you, what is in store for this particular career option that is in manufacturing. And before that, I will make little introduction to the industry, very brief, and then take you further on this. But I would like to say that unlike my usual style, I tried to present a lot of text in the presentation because it's a webinar, so that you can focus on, even if you cannot hear properly, you can focus on what I am trying to say. So that is how it will see. Maybe little busy slides, you may see too many texts, but I think that should facilitate that enter understanding. So to start with, the pharma, of course, I would say that we are lucky that we are in India to be a part of the pharma manufacturing industry from global perspective and also for the domestic perspective. India is occupying number 4 position by volume and number 13 position by value in terms of manufacturing supplies to the global world, to the global arena, and it is poised for a big leap. We started with APIs, simple immediate release formulations, and today very complex APIs, complex biosimilars, delivery systems are getting exported from India even to regulated market. And the industry uses a very diverse and very complex technological areas. And most important is in an evolving science-based regulated environment. And the world is started respecting India's regulatory sensitivity. And above all, what is most important is that we have been able to maintain the cost very competitive. It is almost 40% of the our counterparts and the rest of the world at the present value. But although the industry is under terrible cost pressure, but still we are very, very competitive. But what happens, along with the changing face of the industry and the evolving, the increase in the value chain and a high level of technological and regulatory complexity and cost pressure, there is a significant change in the demand of skill sets and competencies of the workforce. And that has made a little dichotomy. Although there is a large pool of unemployed workforce, including technologists, but there is a shortage of skilled talent. In a recent survey, somewhere in 2015, a Deloitte made a survey after a lot of companies were getting warning letters from US FDA. They did a survey across the major pharma companies in India and also the medium-sized companies also in India, where the 64% of the respondents in the survey told that the reason for failures and non-compliance are due to short of the skill staff. So there is a dichotomy that one side there is a shortage, and at the state there is a unemployed people in the marketplace. But actually, what are the key drivers which demand the skilled and the employment potential? It is the current and future technology platforms. These are ever changing. So anybody called skilled today may not be skilled tomorrow. So it is an ever changing platform that drives the actually employment potential and the skill set. The regulatory scenario and the compliance dynamics. The regulatory scenario is changing, and we are becoming more globally integrated in terms of regulatory requirements. So this is another key driver, and obviously market and competition dynamics and strategic sourcing and conversion cost advantage. And India is pretty much in an advantage in terms of the strategic sourcing and the conversion cost, as I told already. Strategic sourcing in the sense of the significant number of APIs, excipients are made available at a reasonable price, complying with the international regulatory expectation. So these are the key drivers, and of course the investment climate in the and macroeconomic parameters which govern the investment climates. These are the key drivers. Now, in this background, why manufacturing is a key choice? First of all, a relatively large potential for employment compared to any other discipline in the pharmaceutical. To support that, I would just like to quote one data. is that in the Ministry of Skill Development, Government of India got a survey and demand profile evaluation by KPMG. And if you see the figures on your screen, you see the maximum number of job openings are in manufacturing. See, this is 2021, and the incremental requirement in the manufacturing discipline for the technical profession is far above the other discipline. Then second is the maximum opportunity and spectrum of directional flexibility in career that lies with the manufacturing. Just to exemplify that, see, when you talk about manufacturing, people conventionally think production area. So the core manufacturing is production, productivity management. These are the areas. And one can switch at either in mid-career or any time to the discipline like, say, packaging is quite a good area. And now because of the clinical packaging area, which is a special skill area and very evolving in India, a lot of clinical trials are taking place and will be taking place. The packaging and packaging development is also an area where one can divert to from manufacturing, core manufacturing. The other is manufacturing science and technology side. It's called MSNT, is a new discipline where it is a voice of manufacturing with R&D. So they involved in technology transfer, process development, process engineering is required. And in this discipline, the people are not taken from R&D. People who had already worked in manufacturing and have some idea about R&D, that they are the people in between. So one can go to that discipline. And little away, one can migrate to those areas like, for example, quality system management. That means quality assurance and compliance management. These are the areas normally people with a manufacturing background are preferred. At least the companies in which I have served and those who work in regulated market, we don't recruit anybody directly in quality assurance function. We used to recruit people who have at least some couple of years of working experience in manufacturing. Similarly, in supply chain, where production planning, inventory control, materials management is there, a lot of people, including myself, we have had the experience of taking a shift for some time in those just to get an exposure, and people can make career out of it. People have climbed to the level of president, supply chain. People have migrated from manufacturing and availed of this career. So these are the various directional flexibility which are available in while going for manufacturing. Other than that, as we all know, the entry-level eligibility requirement is not very high. One need not have a postgraduate qualification or a PhD or something. A simple graduate degree is good enough. And to work in a factory, the quality requirement of the person, I will talk about that, and in a manufacturing function, is not that you have to be very super brilliant or very exceptional, talented person. What is required, I will talk about that. So the entry-level requirements are not very high or high level. And it's a good balance of application of technology, operational management skill. It's a good chance to get an exposure so that you can climb the higher ladder. There is a reasonable good scope of vertical and horizontal progression. Means you can get a higher levels in your in a hierarchical level in the same organization, can go to other organizations, can take a horizontal shift. And even when the companies are expanding, the new locations are taking place, new departments are going there, the new capacities are getting created, you can get a horizontal or a vertical progression in this regard. It is reasonably remunerative. I will not tell very high, but it is compared to many other people, at least in Western India experience, I would say that in manufacturing is reasonably remunerative. And everybody wants a pride, it means neighbor's envy. And its importance in healthcare delivery in physical form and in terms of its role in generating economic output is something what can drive people to choose manufacturing as a career. Now let us start with certain basics. Everybody knows this, but I want to just eliminate certain myths here. The manufacturing, you note, is a conversion of material input to a tangible product with the help of people, process, plant, machinery, power, and fuel. With all these 4P delivers you product, and just to a tangible product. Many people confuse it with the word production. Production has many connotations. A film also is produced, right? There's a software program is also produced, but a manufacturing is always considered production with machinery's power and giving a tangible output, and above all, the manufacturing does not be necessarily, even legally, that it has a product for sale. It can be produced for the purpose of testing, analysis, research. So whenever you produce a tangible product which has an economic value, either commercial or scientific value, it's manufacturing. So only these 4Ps, plant, people, and power, fuel, process will not generate manufacturing. You need manufacturing systems. So these are three other systems, main systems. One is technical system, one is management system, third is mindset and behavioral system. If the technical system optimizes the physical processes, the resources to deliver the desired quality, quantity, and efficiency. Whereas the management structure, it defines the operating system for delivery. Mindset and behavior, there are a lot of people involved. And all the people, unless they are aligned, the system will not work. And above all, and I want to highlight every stage, that is a regulatory compliance system. A regulatory compliance system is something which gives you in business, and it's a shield. It's shown as a shield, and this shield is actually key to the business. It gives you license to operate. If you do not comply, you don't exist. But only having system is not again. You have to define the functions, the specific functions for the purpose of division of labor. So these are the general functions, and specially indicated the manufacturing function. There are a lot of confusion, especially among the newcomers. When you talk about manufacturing, it is generally considered only production. But manufacturing is not production alone. Manufacturing, the red border area actually defines manufacturing. It includes production planning, warehousing, production, some part of engineering, packaging, quality control, quality assurance, and warehousing. Although quality control, quality assurance, the quality function is accountable to manufacturing, but they don't report to manufacturing. We have a corporate reporting system that is for, of course, avoiding the conflict of interest. Otherwise, quality function is very well a part of manufacturing. If somebody says who builds quality, many people will say the people who are the newcomer, they will say the quality control and quality assurance, they build quality. No, the quality builders are R&D, the process engineers and process and the process developers and the manufacturing people. Quality assurance and quality, they confirm quality, whether the systems are being followed or the product meets quality. So the responsibility of building quality is with the manufacturing. So quality is a part of the manufacturing, and although the reporting structure is somewhere else. And if you see other functions, and every function is connected through communication or transactions. Some organizations like marketing, supply chain, finance, HR, the regulatory, corporate quality, R&D, and distribution, they're outside this manufacturing area of control. But every day their affairs, they have to work with manufacturing. They have to communicate with manufacturing. They have to transact with manufacturing. So these slides shows you how the manufacturing is related to other functions and what the manufacturing function itself means. So it's a very wide span of control, and engineering is very much part of manufacturing. So that's why in the subsequent slides afterwards, we'll also talk a lot about engineering side and the interdisciplinary knowledge and so. But all these interrelationship and the communications transactions are managed through a set of information system, communication system. A small and medium company, they communicate through hard documents. And today in the most of the companies, of course, they communicate through a system is known as enterprise resource planning, ERP. And these are either in soft, and ERP also works parallelly with the hard documentation system. Let us look at the document flow in the course of discharging manufacturing function. And there also you will see there are a lot of functions are involved. And how the document flows. The actually document starts from in the form of a master formula from R&D, which produces a master BMR and means batch manufacturing record, batch production record. Then analytical methods and protocols are also generated by R&D. It's called analytical development. Then the master BMR triggers generation of the batch manufacturing record, batch packaging record. The BMR, one part of BMR goes as a bill of material, which gives the quantitative information for the materials. And all these things are triggered by a document called sales forecast. And the sales forecast goes to the production planning department, and which function does and generates a document called monthly and quarterly batch planning. And these in turn is converted to monthly production schedule by the production and manufacturing department. And this again goes for preparing the basis of the material requisition. This material requisition generates and goes to purchase department to produce purchase orders, raw material packaging delivery schedule. And parallelly, the production planning department generates a delivery schedule to the marketing department. Now, on receipt the material from purchase order, a goods receipt note is prepared and a QC intimation is there, so that QC knows when to sample, what to sample. After sampling, QC release the material, raw material packaging material, and produce material receipt note. And if it is rejected, it goes back and intimation goes to purchase department. If it is approved, it goes to material inventory update, goes to stock, and that triggers a monthly production schedule activation. Although schedule is prepared, a schedule is activated, and it picks up the BMR or BPR and generates a production order. So although a production man has a knowledge and document of batch manufacturing process and record template, but he cannot start a production unless a production order is generated. This production order, allowing the material inventory update, the bill of material, and it generates a dispensing order, and when executed, called a material dispensing record. Then you have a executed BMR, that means batch manufacturing record. When the production goes on, it goes on filling. So it is shown in the form of some documents. You see the single document, see there are multiple documents. So executed BMR, it generates a in-process sample advice, and these in turn goes to the quality control and in-process analysis department, who in turn gets the protocol from the analytical development. And then based on that, analysis is done and reports are given, and subsequently an executed BMR is released up, and then it goes to packing. A batch packaging record is created, and similarly a finished product sampling advice is made, and the finished product analysis as per the protocol, an executed protocol gives the result. And after getting a release, it goes for a batch review and release report, and this is a quality assurance function, but production has a lot of role in creating this document, because production reviews and then QA reviews. So batch release is not only by QA or QC, it is also by production. Responsibility of release also lies with the production. And finally, when it is released on review, it goes to a generation of a transfer note and a finished goods stock movement and dispatch note. This is in a very brief, a minimal documentation flow in a manufacturing setup. I thought that you must get a glimpse or flavor of the kind of documentation. These are most of the time nowadays in organized companies, they do electronic documentation, and of course hard documentation is acceptable. Now coming back to manufacturing, the types of manufacturing are finished dosage forms, as we know, the API, biological vaccines and biotech products, and nowadays device-based delivery systems, and many other products, and only device systems are also under the manufacturing. But in today, because of the time constraints, I don't want to dwell in detail in all the things. Primarily, we'll do the finished dosage form. Most of the discussion will be related to the finished dosage form, although API biologicals will get some start, some kind of a touch. So going to the types of manufacturing. So if you see the manufacturing process of finished dosage, there are so many types of manufacturing. But if we want to just bring under one umbrella and we take a kind of a bird's eye view of the manufacturing, it is can be divided into bulk manufacturing and subdivision. The primary, there are two areas, and then of course packaging and assembly. Bulk manufacturing, for example, granulation is a bulk manufacturing. Your bulk liquid manufacturing, bulk ointment and creams manufacturing, even injection also when it's prepared as a solution, the bulk manufacturing. And another set is subdivision. That means filling, compression, capsule filling, and packaging assembly are different. Assembly is something which is related to, because nowadays in injectable dosage form and some of the tablet dosage form, along with the drug itself, some delivery device or usage device are given. So it's also packaging and assembly. My point of main point, what I want to say, that the skill sets and the technology and in these different sections of the finished dosage form manufacturing are different, and it has so many variables. So there are oral liquid, semi-solids, oral solids, aerosols, parenterals. For each of these dosage forms, you have a set of bulk manufacturing, if you say, and then for every such, it's a kind of a matrix. Every such dosage form, there are subdivision technologies are different, skill sets are different. The bluish oblong marks are primarily to indicate that these are the different skill sets. And of course, warehousing, dispensing, and warehousing and distribution, they are different skill sets. Just to say that what are the kind of different in skill sets. Even in warehousing function, the dispensing and the distribution skill sets are different. Same kind of example you will see in the API manufacturing. This is to simplify, just to give a very simplistic overview and enable you to understand the skill set requirement. So when you there are in API manufacturing or even the biochemical manufacturing, the stages are there's a molecule formation, separation, isolation is another set, and purification another set, and finishing packaging is another set. Synthetic process is a set by itself, is a set of skill by itself, which are different from those for fermentation and biotech processes. The separation, isolation, and purification are one kind of a common skill set. In finishing area, where in API manufacturing, which involves size reduction, milling, blending, containerization, this is another set of skill set. In biotech manufacturing also, these are the basic manufacturing stages, where I have tried to put together with a blue oval marking, which are the common skill sets. Say cell bag development and production line, cell line, these are absolutely different kind of skill sets. Whereas in fermentation, cell culture, there are different kinds of skill sets. The people who harvest the cells, that falls in that cell set. But where the extraction through cell lysis, recovery, clarification, purification, polishing, the buffer exchange, and in purification, especially in biotech, there is a lot of chromatography involved. In a very high precision chromatography are involved. There are quantitative chromatography, these skill sets are totally different. So what I mean to say, there are within even the same kind of manufacturing, whether dosage form, whether in the API or biotech process, there are different sets of skill sets. Now, we have many times used the word the skill. There is a lot of misunderstanding about the word about knowledge, skill, and competency. I believe that as a newcomer, you must know, because otherwise the career success actually depends on your understanding of this simple terminology. Knowledge is what you know, and in this information age, knowledge is no barrier. Of course, you have to understand by getting access to knowledge. There is a difference between information and knowledge. A processed information is the knowledge. So knowledge, having knowledge is something you know, right? Skill is when we know to how to apply that knowledge, that is called skill. So only knowing is not good enough. There are many knowledgeable persons, but they are useless because they don't know how to apply their knowledge. Then comes the main thing that is called competency. Competency is the context and perspectives in which knowledge and skill are applied to bring effectiveness towards the intended purpose and performance. Note the word, unless you have knowledge and you even apply knowledge, but unless it brings an effectiveness or you do not know it is how to bring effectiveness, you don't have the competency, right? And it is the competency what it matters in really in a professional life. So what is competency? Is a set of knowledge, skill, and habit and attitude. Remember this word, required by an individual to perform a defined task effectively, meeting a final function and business purpose. Business purpose is also important. You get a result which is not meeting the business purpose, it's not a competency. That means in addition to having a functional domain knowledge and skill, the individual has to adopt certain attitude, very important, habits and the way of thinking for job performance and to be effective. So having your lot of knowledge, skill, but not applied, and you do not know how it falls in the requirement to bring the effectiveness in the business environment. So you have to keep in your mind what competencies, and that is in industry, what it matters is your competency, which finally drives your performance. And industry, I have received many questions which is there any success? Is there any career growth in manufacturing? I believe in R&D, there are a lot of fast growth. Marketing, there are fast growth. But finally, wherever you go, it is actually the performance. If there is a performance, there is a growth. If there is a competency, then there is a likelihood of performance. Now this competency is not a single competency. Competency is an aggregate. There are academic competency. These are the kind of competency. They aggregate for a particular job role or a job function. You have an aggregate of competency. Depending on a level, in a hierarchical level, the weightage of these kind of things are relatively less or more. So when you start, we start with an academic competency and personal effectiveness competency. This you bring when you enter from institution to your workplace. And this, in your work situation, you learn functional and technical competencies, work competencies, managerial competencies, industry sector competencies. And what they are, very briefly, I would like to show you what those competencies are. And I will not spend much time. Just to give an example. Means academic competencies examples, reading, comprehending, article, mathematical calculation, statistical, measurement, units and conversion formula, interpreting drawings, basic computer skill, understanding pharmaceutical process and unit operations. And these are very common things when you are expected to when you come from the institution. Personal effectiveness competencies are initiative, inclusiveness, interpersonal relationship, integrity, adaptability, dependability. So these are the things, this comes when you enter. Then you acquire and workplace competencies like planning, organizing, working in team, etc., working with tools, technology, ensuring compliance, performance appraisal. These are the kind of managerial competency. You need it more when you grow, but something you need a little of it. Defining roles, understanding roles, staffing, how to appreciate talent, then working in team building, managing conflict. Conflict is a part of your work and rather life. You have to learn to manage conflicts, delegating, supporting, communicating, networking, etc., etc. So these are the managerial competency. Then another, it takes place when you grow higher. That's called industry sector competency, understanding your regulatory obligations, your business risks, and the potential of technology and the quality risks, the conversion cost efficiency, patent and intellectual property. So these are the kind of a industrial sector competency. So a competency is something you come with and you go and you grow that competency to get a specific job role wise. You go on progressing and increasing the size of this hexagon. Now, how to make a beginning to go ahead with a competency, right? There are a lot of misconception both among the the people who are getting beginning career and the people who are, some of the people even some when they are recruiting also. But from my experience across the globe, from my experience across the globe, I've seen when you are hired, you are evaluated for your potential, attitude, and trainability. Employer looks for your conceptual or fundamental or relevant technical and scientific principles, conceptual understanding. Your fundamental scientific principles. And actually, before you are assigned work, in fact, when I was interviewing people for many positions, even when I was interviewed for or examined for multinational companies in the beginning of a career, you know, at that time it was the top multinational company of India. And what the exam paper was given, fundamental physics, fundamental chemistry, physiology, and conversion formula. These are the exam papers. And based on that, all India selection took place. And of course, psychological tests. So people actually look for trainability and attitude. And of course, there are potentials that is to be examined. There are questionnaires for that. So don't get bogged down with the thing that you have to know all the things in the world. Yes, you know your fundamentals. So before you are subjected to training and will be inducted to work, there are processes. And you have to learn to work under close supervision. This is a change of life. Before you are given independent charge of an activity, it is your learning at workplace that will demonstrate your competency, that will matter. And main challenge will be to adjusting your new culture, discipline with restriction and movement. To come from a college life, the kind of freedom you have, you will not have that. And there will be demand for high level of alertness in communicating, operating, and documenting. And you think that you will be always be supervisory eye and traceability in your activity. You cannot hide anything. You can think that you have done some mistake, people will not be able to detect, because in industry, especially in manufacturing function, and also in quality function, and nowadays also in R&D, everything is traceable, right? So you must know that at the end of the training, before we come to the area of how do you develop competencies in the different kind of, especially in the technical competency, what you should be able to do at level 1. Suppose you have been trained and then you are asked to do the work. I will tell in a simple terms, you follow an entry procedure, gowning procedure, understand and apply basic principle of health, hygiene, and sanitation and safety. Some people think that gowning, degowning is a very simple thing, what to learn about it. When somebody wants to make a career in injectable discipline especially, or in a kind of a contained manufacturing facility, you will realize how important to know the gowning, degowning. You should be able to identify, quantify process stages, inputs, outputs, can do in-process checks, can perform measurement and process parameter, follow instruction, operate and maintain specific group of equipment and critical support system in specific technology areas, recognize and acknowledge alarm, report errors and deviation on time along with description of drift and defect. Reporting deviations and drift in time is very, very important, because if you don't report any error or alarm on time, you lose the opportunity to correct them. Further, in level 1, you can document the process stages, process parameter, you can in the BMR templates, manually and electronically, understand responsibility associated with each step of operation and documentation, account for output wastages, events, failures, understand compliance obligation, and articulate and demonstrate steps of SOP when needed during internal and external audit. Actually, that is the key to all your learnings, because many people know to do the job, but when the audit takes place, they are not able to demonstrate or articulate properly. And nowadays the trend, especially in the international regulatory audits, the manager or supervisors are not allowed to speak. It is the frontline people, either the operator or the first line supervisor, or maybe the next above. He will have to talk, explain, and demonstrate. In one of my international audit experience, there was some problem, and the supervisor was not able to explain, and even the manager was also not able to explain the way the auditor should understand. And when I tried to explain, the auditor told me in a very harsh way, "Are you the operator, or do you operate this machine every day? I don't want to listen from you. I want to listen from the people who operates or supervises everyday operation." So ability to articulate and demonstrate during internal and external audit is very important in terms of a part of competency. Knowing everything is not good enough. And when you say spend 1 or 2 days, you go to 1 or 2 years in a particular position, and you go to level 2. I'll just talk about the level 2. You should be able to plan, organize material, equipment, tooling, accessories, and to organize manpower to execute targeted volume of production, verify and confirm your operational steps and procedure, and you do all the primary transaction of manned material inform. That means you can draw material from stores using production order, generate production order, and you can allocate work, you can report the daily attendance and the allocation of the people of that part job as per the shift or work requirement. Then you should be able to prepare a SOP. I'm telling after a 1.5 to 2 years, depending on the company, these are the level 2 operations. Prepare SOP, train technicians, operator, do structured problem solving. Use the word structured problem solving. Some of the problems are not non-structured. It comes, then it's not, do not fall in your capability purview. Actually, the structured problem solving, standard problems, you should be able to recognize the trend, process parameter, and escalate the repetitive problems and significant trends. You can escalate to the next level. The investigate incidents, identify cause, bottleneck, constraint, recommend resources, remedial measures, and whatever implementation decision comes, you should be in a position to implement. So this is the level 2 expectation. So this is the expectation. But to fulfill this expectation, you have to develop competency in a certain approach. So we'll talk about this development approach. How do you develop the competency? In competency development approach, you know, something you have choice, something you do not have choice. Something depends on your initiative, something depends on the business policy, the way the layout of the facility, the product volume, product characteristic, the cross-contamination potential of the product. This is how the product manufacturing process are disposed. And that is why I have enumerated different kind of approaches, but finally you have to migrate from one approach to another approach to increase the spectrum of your capability and competency. So the first time I would like to talk about is a product group and dosage line specific technical competency. The product group means when you go to company, especially in small and medium company, you would see there is a they manufacture, you get an opportunity to manufacture a product from beginning to end. That means you will know granulations, you will know dispensing, you will know compression, you know say coating, everything for a given product you'll be able to do, or a given group of products. For example, you can develop competency in a uncoated immediate release tablet manufacturing. Okay, that's a line. So you go on manufacturing that day in and day out. So you learn from end to end. Or you may be dual to a modified release coated tablet, but because of the volume or the scale of operations, you day in and day out from end to end, you get exposure. But the question of depth comes later on. You may not have that depth since you were learning at a time from end to end, so many operations. Say, I would show you just by a layout. In a layout, even in big companies, they have production lines. Sometimes you have a very big volume. One particular line manufactures, say, wet granulated products continuously, a single product in one line. When I began my career, I joined a company called Dufer Interfran Limited, which was the originator of Crocin. For 365 days, a particular department was there. They were manufacturing only Crocin tablets, right from dispensing to granulation, compression, everything. And even the packaging was also brought that. So it's a full granulation and compression suits. It's called the production line. There was maybe another group, and the people who are placed there, they must be spending there for years. They have manufactured only, they learned to manufacture only Crocin tablet. There are also product lines in some companies. They go by line concept. If another product be where you must be using the roll compaction and dry granulation procedure instead of wet granulation. And the set of people put there are spent there or made their hair gray there itself. We'll talk about that, how to migrate that, all these things. But at this moment, you learn these are the kind of scenarios which may come to you when you go to the unit. Sometimes by choice, sometimes by you may not have choice. But the other complexities I will tell you later on. This another kind of manufacturing philosophy is called, it has come from the engineering principle. It's called group product technology orientation. So say somebody is, there are, granulation is a discipline by itself. There are different kind of granulation in one side, and somebody is put in the granulation for maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 years. He is doing only granulation. Somebody is then put in not necessarily afterwards, but will be put in right from the beginning to get training only in compression. So they learn all compression only, and somebody will do coating only. So these kind of scenarios are there. You can make a beginning in either places. In bigger companies, organized companies, the general trend is that they put the people fast in granulation, and they learn granulation, only doing granulation maybe for a year or so, and then they go to compression, and then for maybe fluid bed processing. Fluid bed processing may get an opportunity to learn both powder processing as well as the pellet processing, and the granulation may be of different types. Here you may have a roll compaction, wet granulation, single pot processing. You may have even extrusion ferronization. This is also part of the granulation. So you get specialized in knowing different kind of granulation here. So similarly, compression also, you may have a bilayer compression, you may be a single layer compression, you may have a inlay tablet manufacturing, tablet in tablet, you may have a compression coating tablet manufacturing. Coatings, there may be functional coating. If you are spending time right from the beginning coating, you do a simple cosmetic coating, or it's called a film coating. You have a functional coating, you have a multi-dimensional drug delivery based coating. So there are specialized areas of approaching the manufacturing processes. These are the example of the solid oral, but you will get the similar example in the liquid orals and externals also. In liquid oral, you may be put in a only making bulk solution, syrup or a suspension, and you will be restricted in a particular area here only, and another set of people will go in, spend time only filling, bottle washing, filling, etc., those sites. And what I would suggest that no process is inferior. Making a beginning is very important, and ultimately you can migrate to. But whatever you need to learn, you learn become a specialist on that area, and you will get a better depth. So it advantage your short-term advantage of working in a product line-based facility is different. Short-term you get exposure to all the operations, but not in depth. Whereas in a unit operation oriented layout, you get exposure in part by part, and you can migrate later on. In parenteral dosage form, of course, here the opportunities come differently. When you go, first of all, you have to decide when you will make career in parenteral manufacturing or not. That is a big decision, and of course, people change their career and mid-career, and I will tell you later on how to make that change. In parenteral manufacturing, also it's a mixture of your specialized technology area of operations and also product line concept. Here are the examples you can make out by looking at the layout. But here the exposure, here the two lines are shown. Two lines, manufacturing lines, separated by a black vertical line. One is a vial filling line, another is ampoule filling line. You can have parallel lines of, or in fact, people have dry powder filling injectable line, pre-filled filling line, large volume parenteral line, such lines. But these two is just for example. But how the people are inducted? People are inducted in a very progressive manner because of the risk level in parenterals are pretty high. So initially when the people are brought, they are given a lot of theoretical exposure and then taught how to behave. And they are observed for their attitude and their commitment levels for being put in the, and they want to be a very long-term player, and their internal value system is also assessed. So first, the areas of operation they are put are class C areas. You see the blue area, blue colored area, like vial washing, solution making, component preparation, ampoule washing, solution, component area. You know, in injectable area, the starting class is class D, where the people walk around with, of course, after gowning. And then comes the class C. And aseptic area is class B with a, and inside there's a class A, which is a laminar air flow or isolator, whatever. So the first people are trained to enter, how to make entry, the gowning procedure for entering in the class C area, that means, and given and trained in an area like component preparation, then solution making. Component preparation, nothing like how to prepare the components which are to be loaded in the autoclave, or say tubings, filter holders, cartridges, then various machine components which have to be sterilized. And then solution making is actually batch making, and that too done in a class C area. Vial washing is another area, is an interface between the sterilizers, dried sterilizer, and the product flow is also shown by arrow. After you have worked for some time, demonstrated, trained how to behave in these areas, then you are slowly put under supervision in aseptic filling area. Aseptic filling area, maybe you are put first in vialing and then subsequently ampoules. And vialing means vial filling, sealing, and sealing capping is in a class C area. And in some companies, if it is in class D area, depending on the kind of cap they use. But what is important that when you get a permit to enter the aseptic filling area, it is a very complex process. You have to first undergo a lot of training, and you have to qualify by a media fill, a subsequent 3 times media fill, passing under supervision, and you're never allowed to go alone in that area. There will be a couple of people who will work. You will only watch for quite some time, and then you will be allowed to participate in a media fill. And when all 3 successive media fill are successfully done, then only you will qualify for. Even your gowning procedure gets qualified by your media film. Although gown swabbing and etc. is done, the videography of your activity is done, and before really media fill, it is done by a smoke study in a aseptic area when not in operation. When the smoke study is done, when during your activity, whether there is a turbulence created, whether the particle levels are going up, because there are always alarms and monitoring of particles in the aseptic filling area, and that is in the acceptable level. You don't generate invisible particle limit in the floating air, which are not visible. It is only by the sensing devices they record, and you are able to demonstrate consistently. If you in walking in aseptic, even in class C area, and more strictly so in class B area, because class A area no human being can be there. Only when you put your hands inside class A, you have to sanitize your hand every time you put your hand. So when even a class B area, when you walk, if you walk little rapidly, then the particle count goes up. So there is a special behavioral walking technique of how to walk. You walk almost like an astronaut, and this is the expectation. And when the regulatory inspectors come, especially from the overseas, what they see, they have seen that how your people are doing gowning. They enter your gowning area, they do gowning with you, they see how you are doing gowning, which one you are picking up first, which one you are picking up second. There is a particular order in Egypt where whether the booty first or hand gloves first, and you have to do double hand glove wearing. So the gown is a very, very complex way of doing the aseptic entry. Then how do you are able to assemble the machine at that time? I remember one European inspector, he stood in front of the machine filling area and saw the assembling of the machine. He told us that you call me at, when he asked, when are you going to start assembling of this machine? We told at 12 o'clock at night, because we are operating at 3 shifts. Assembly will come at 12 o'clock. He told you, send me a car, I will come before 12 o'clock. He came from 12 o'clock at night till 11 o'clock in next day. He stood in front of that when the assembling was done. And they view the how your people are behaving. The first thing in aseptic filling, people's behavior and their competency, their knowledge of handling, picking up things, assembling is very important. And sometimes when you're qualifying the area, they would like to see your smoke studies in videos. So that is why while putting people in an aseptic area, it is a big task, and it's a very elaborate process through which you will have to go through. And that's why making career in injectable is not so easy, but there are rewards for that. This is in a very brief way the category-based approach-wise technical your competency development approach. And in terms of unit operations, see, we'll talk about in detail about when you talk about in terms of text, we'll show you. Another area which is most applicable in API is called unit process-wise technical competency. There is a difference between unit operations and unit process. Probably all of you know. And unit operations deals with the physical transformations, and unit process deals with both chemical and physical transformations. So for example, unit processes is what? Say amidation, nitration, your catalytic hydrogenation, your opener oxidation, or maybe MPV reductions, or maybe your oxidations, other oxidation. So these are the typically organic Rem reaction kind of skills. And each skill is absolutely different. Somebody who is able to do a nitration or an amidation would be able to do a kind of a typical oxidation. It may not be same. And anyway, people have to go through the learning or competency development of in different areas. And in what happens in API plant, layouts are multi-story. Normally, the material is fed from the top. There are reflux reactor with reflux condensers, and there are In the subsequent floor, there are collection units.
No.
Hello, it has stopped, it seems.
Stopped mean?
The screen is visible.
Yeah, screen is visible. Technical competency development approach. That page.
Acha, first screen has come.
Okay.
Acha, competency development approach. That is
Competency
screen is visible.
development, ওইটাই আছে।
I am not able to
Change.
No, I am not able to see the screen.
Oh.
You are blackened?
No, not blackened. It is only Zoom written.
Oh, it's only Zoom. নিচে নিচে দেখো একটা জুমের সাইন দেওয়া একটা
Okay.
ওইটাতে ক্লিক করো তাহলে চলে যাবে।
আচ্ছা, okay. Zoomer sign. Acha, I have to click. It's not happening. It's moving.
I think নিচে দুটো জুম ক্লাউড মিটিং এন্ড জুম ওয়েবিনার এটা দেখাচ্ছে। জুম ওয়েবিনারটা ক্লিক করলে মনে হচ্ছে পেজটা চলে আসে, মিনিমাইজ হয়ে গেছে কোনো কারণে।
yeah,
I think it's minimized anyway.
I'm not able to see. Okay, got it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so you are talking about unit process wise technical competency for API. So this is in API layouts is a multi-storied layout. So people are normally deployed in store wise. Of course, there is a lot of movement between the store. There are, as you have told, that there are your reflux condensing operations are in the top floors, and charging operations. There are your extraction operations, separation operations in the medium, and the bottom there are centrifugation and drying operations, and of course other powder processing operations. So you may get operations wise, unit operations wise exposure, but what is most important for competency development is by unit process wise competency. That is the real competency which matters in API manufacturing. Then there are cross-functional technical competency development, compliance-oriented technical competency development. We'll talk about that in detail as we go there. Let us go by product group specific technical competency. In that, what you need to develop as a competency, you should understand process flow, process stage-wise quantitative quality formula with measurement accuracy. The measurement accuracy very important. Suppose you are charging a material and who is a very low content, and the unit of measurement has to be different. The weighing methodology has to be different. The identification requirement has to be different. Critical checks, the mass balance, and the yield reconciliation. Then you understand the process stage-wise equipment, accessories, utility, tooling, change parts, assembly, and disassembly. Demonstrate operating, cleaning, changeover, metal handling, and transfer process. Cleaning, people learn to operate machines or know about machines, but cleaning people ignore. That cleaning is the most difficult skill, and understanding cleaning and cleaning validation is the most difficult skill. People think that it is a dirty job. Let the operators do it, or the cleaners do it. There is nothing like cleaner or operator. Unless the person who is accountable for it is not that operation, you are not valued. You may not have your job permanently there. So cleaning is a very important operation. I am just emphasizing it. Unless you know how to clean and what are the most difficult to clean operation, you cannot determine the swabbing points during cleaning validation. So that's why I'm just emphasizing on the cleaning, equipment cleaning, understanding that as a competency. The process stage-wise cutoff and endpoint detection. So this is a very skill. Till now, there has been by organoleptic or other observation-based endpoint or time-based endpoint. But you know, while validating a process, you cannot go by a pure observation, David, because your inputs are quantified, your process is standardized, the endpoint has to be design endpoint. So learning endpoint, it is most of the endpoints nowadays are instrumented endpoint, like granulation endpoints are known by amperometry. There are many methods. In API, there are endpoints are clearly defined now. In delivery systems, endpoints are clearly defined. You have to learn where the process endpoint is. That actually gives you the skill and competency. Stage-wise control parameter, the range measurement method. Only knowing the range is not good enough. Measurement methods are very important. Then intermediate holding condition and time limit. In many processes, rather most of the process, you know, the intermediates, for example, a weight granules, or maybe a solution to be filtered in an injectable. There are specified, or especially in a lyophilized product, there are the hold times are very important. You have 14 hours maximum hold time. Suppose something happens, then your hold time gets extended. You have to, if the operation resumes, you have to keep a watch that your hold time is not extended. It's not extended. You have to throw away the material unless you have enough study to justify that if the hold time is exceeded by suppose 3 hours, then the product is not impacted in terms of impurity profile. So without that data, you cannot lose your sensitivity and your knowledge and competence in terms of hold time and its limit. And the most important is to know the what if scenario. In any process, the unexpected things can happen. Suppose you started getting the weight variation during compression. What is to be done? Then during coating, the pan stops. You're in a very critical stage of coating. In a wet granulation, the chopper has stopped. What is to be done? So these kind of what if scenario, unless you know, for any product, specific product, group of products, and especially for the very sensitive products by modified release products, those kind of products. So the what if scenario, the injectables, then you are in for a problem. Then you will not be called a competent. That means you cannot be given an independent charge. Then there are certain parenteral specific technical skills. I'll simply tell the names because it's not possible to elaborate all. The clean room concepts, microbiological environment monitoring system, process simulation media fill, and containment method. These you have to do. You have to think whatever microbiology you have learned in your academics, they are minuscule in compared to what you will know in practical knowledge while in a parenteral operation. And aseptic practices and processing technology, barrier acetylation is of course is a little sophisticated, but if you consider a simple laminar flow related area, you have to know the aseptic practices, for example, especially assembly. How do you fix a tube into a manifold? This is an art. Art in the sense there is science, of course, but when your auditor will come, he will tell you who is your operator who assembles the machine, who does the aseptic assembly, or who is the supervisor who does it. Do it in front of me. And if you do in an unacceptable way, then you will reject your facility. That means you don't know how to avoid your the probability of any kind of a contamination, a microbial contamination. So aseptic practices, very small word, but it takes at least 3 to 4 years to learn perfectly to aseptic processing technology and aseptic practices. And a person is qualified for his aseptic process and practice. Of course, there are quick learners. Is qualified whether it is doing rightly by media fill and smoke studies. Sterilization, hardware, process parameter, microbial lethality, and product stability. So microbial lethality, sterilization means sterilizer, and process we know theoretically in colleges, in universities, but there are certain nuances of this. So how much you are aware in terms of D value of the organism, their F0 value of the sterilization cycle, then H0 value for dry sterilization, then how much do you know about the steam quality? What is the difference between saturated steam and a superheated steam in the perspective of sterilization? And how many of us know to read a steam table in terms of to know whether the sterilization time is complying with the theoretical sterilization time? And if you are working with the isolator, vaporized hydrogen peroxide, VHP sterilization, that is more complex. So it is not only the sterilization hardware, the process, and also not only the lethality, it is the product stability in the sensitivity or understanding is very important. I'll give a story here. We have been manufacturing a product very well developed in R&D. R&D has taken 20 trials for the product till filling in the pilot plant. When it came to the manufacturing plant, it was found that after sterilization, in the finished product, one known impurity was increasing significantly. So then it was a surprise for everybody that in R&D it behaved so differently, so within the limit, and one specific impurity, known impurity, why it is increasing after sterilization. The issue is in sterilization, just as in sterilization is a time temperature lethal effect. Similarly, in instability of a molecule or impurity generation, the time temperature lethal effect in the cumulative integrated effect. Means when the steam in small sterilization in pilot plant, when you heat up, release steam, it jumps up quickly and you get the temperature. Whereas in industrial sterilizer, the ramp is slow. It takes little longer time for the ramp to reach that temperature. So the cumulative impact of time and temperature, the integrated time temperature effect is much more in an industrial sterilizer. So that was causing the increasing of an N oxide impurity in that injectable product, very sophisticated prefilled syringe product. And so that's why I'm telling not only the lethality knowledge competency, but also product stability competency is to be acquired. And that happens through the, of course, control training. And there are many methods by which one can get that training. Aseptic liquid air filtration method and specific filter configuration. The aseptic filtration filter configurations are very sophisticated issue, whether it's a cartridge or a diaphragm filter, how to assemble, how to do the integrity testing of the filter, pre and post. This is very important. The filter configuration, both air, the way the compressed air is filtered, what are the specification of that, and how they are to be assembled. The aseptic liquid filter, there are various kinds of. There are hydrophobic filters, there are hydrophilic filters. For oily formulation, for the hydrophobic filters are used. So there are many methods and configurations filter, whether you use a one-up, means one filter assembly, multiple filter assembly, what kind of pre-filter you have to use. These only manufacturing people have to learn, not R&D. R&D will know, but manufacturing people have to know. I have the competency. And there are nowadays very high accuracy automated filling technology with or without delivery device, and aseptic transfer and assembly. FFS assembly is a new thing. I would not say new, this is almost 15 years old. This is a thing which you have to learn separately. It is different from your clean room waste filling. Here the clean room is within the machine and everything is touchless, and it is all handled by manufacturer and a closed condition. The container is formed within a closed condition. So this is a different technology, different competency required. Lyophilization, recipe setting, cold chain holding, transportation is also sophisticated. You can learn only in the industry, in the workplace. No academic institution will teach you unless you come to, or even the R&D will not teach you. Lyophilization, you have to know the thermodynamics, the eutectic points, the freezing, supercooling. Those you have to witness in a cryo microscope how the product behave in a lyophilization situation. And so also important the cold chain holding and transportation for thermolabile products. Container closure configuration, washing methods, integrated testing in particulate count limits. These are not taught in any academic institution because integrity testing is a very sophisticated method for when a container closure integrity. There are various methods which are there is a pressure testing for, there's a very gross testing. There are, say, helium testing, there are spark testing, there are various kinds of testing. And these are testings are nowadays. There are vacuum brake testing. So these are all automated nowadays. There are machine costing crores of rupees. Say Bonfiglioli is a company who makes this leak testing machine for the vials, samples and all, and even also the plastic containers, or different kind of containers, pre-filled syringes. So container closure integrated testing is a very important parameter, and competency is required for the people to specially develop for the people in making a career in parenterals. Understand in the now the unit operation oriented technical competency. These are the generic competency. You have to understand the unit operation wise equipment design, operation principles, surface finish, metal characteristic with specification of steel. How many of us know in our academics that how many types of what kind of steels are used for metal contact part? And if somebody says SS316 or SS316L, so why SS316L will be used? Why SS316 will be used? SS316L is actually more competent for the wherever there are heat applications are there, because L is low carbon. And why low carbon? Because when you do the welding in steel while making the vessel in a fabricator or the equipment, then if there is a carbon, because stainless steel contains 2 to 3% molybdenum, and also the carbon almost 18% carbon. So what happens if the carbon a high percent of carbon, rather 4% of carbon, and this carbon proportion, if it is too much, then there is a tendency to form carbide when you do the welding, and that carbide you use that carbide may take to oxidize your product if the product is oxidation sensitive or can cause degradation. So if you use low carbon stainless steel, you will not likely to have carbide deposition while welding in the vessel while making that container. So that's why low carbon stainless steel is used. So you have to understand steel, otherwise people will take you for a ride, especially fabricators, manufacturers, suppliers. That's why some companies do procure steel sheets on their own, cut one part of it, put a stamp, and another part of the rest of the steel sheet, they put their own stamp and told the manufacturer, make that stamp appear on the equipment body so that the manufacturer cannot replace the steel. So in understanding, this is just an example of in terms of knowing the material surfaces and the contact material. Using different kind of polymeric material. Polymeric materials are the very big enemy for the product stability. So they're especially the gaskets and components, equipment components, various places. And of course, R&D do a kind of a compatibility study, but you to understand, recognize, and ensure that the right polymeric components are there. Or during breakdown, we have seen some instances, there is a silicone gasket. The silicone gasket in maintenance department went out of stock. Somebody replaced the silicone gasket with a neoprene gasket. And we had a problem of the product instability. Without knowledge of the competent person, somebody replaced it. So this is an example, understanding the component of the materials of the equipment is very important. Understanding principle of facility and clean room conditions with respect to unit operation, cleaning, critical support system, HVAC, critical gas water system, heating, cooling, vacuum system, material handling, and transfer system. Material handling transfer is very important because all the materials cannot be handled and transferred by the same method. Depending on the product sensitivity, their quantity requirement, you have to use different method. I remember in my career, there was a formula came from the R&D, where the quantity of active ingredient is in terms of 0.05 milligram per tablet. The tablet weight is 100 milligram. So, and the manufacturing process came that told that shift the material 5 times through 100 mesh and then transfer in a plastic bag and then hold it and then put it in your mixer. On the first batch, the assay came 50%. So everybody started thinking, and from manufacturing department, they told that if you are shifting to 100 mils and the material has a static charge, and the more you sieve directly and collect in a plastic bag, half the active ingredient will get added in the plastic bag, and you will not be able to get any API. That is true. So what we suggested, the manufacturing suggested to the R&D, that you should directly weigh the material in a stainless steel container, get the pre-sifted API from the vendor, and directly charge on your manufacturing vessel. You need not sieve it separately. Excipients you can sieve, and rather we can have a coarse lab breaking sieving, and then pass your excipients above that sieve repeatedly, and then you connect the manufacturing vessel, specially earthing, so that the surface charges of the active ingredients are neutralized, or sometimes some glycine is added to neutralize the charge, and then and the problem was resolved. We could get 99% potency in that. So this is something why the material handling transfer is so important. That sometimes the metal quantity is too slow, you transfer through vacuum, half the metal is lost in the vacuum. So there are various kinds of transferring technology to be available, and one must know the implications for that. Vacuum is a very important system in manufacturing. For the lack of time, I cannot talk on much of a vacuum. To understand operation through PLC, industrial PC, instrumentation, there is a difference between PLC and industrial PC. Industrial PC is a full-fledged computer, and PLC does not have a memory. So you cannot keep the recipe there. You have to, every time you have to input the recipe, and you have to know manage the recipe, and also you have to know the access control system. When nowadays FDA do not access, do not accept any kind of system where any Tom, Dick, and Harry can access the machine or the PLC of the machine. You have to have at least 2 levels of password control, and from time to time you have to change the password. We have seen in Indian in many facilities the entire factory shared the password. So though password sharing is not allowed in regulated market. So understanding that, and the company is required to understand that, and how to put a recipe, how to change a recipe, this is very important requirement. Further area of technical competency, preparing, executing validation protocol, both for quality and validation. I have seen people have misconception our validation, they call equipment validation. So again, you qualify equipment, you validate a process, you validate a process or computer system and cleaning. So you always qualify an equipment. So you and the preparing validation protocol is not the job of a quality assurance. It is the job of manufacturing. Quality assurance only verifies that. And when actually routine qualification validation involved, and when there is a triggered by a change control, that is something is to be understood. The process, the statistical process control is very common now, and everybody uses the software. You have to understand that software. Defining and identifying the possible contaminants and source of chemical and microbiological contaminants, and technological principle controlling purity, potency, uniformity. It is not that only quality assurance need to understand. It is because impurities are generated, contamination generated in the manufacturing environment, and understanding product characteristic and linking the input quality to the product characteristic. In an extrusion ferronized product, where cross carmellose was not cross carmellose, carboxymethyl cellulose was used as one of the excipients, and it was found that after manufacturing 200 batches, the batches showing a dissolution profile different from the earlier batches. In fact, in the second time point of the dissolution, it was failing and happened. And when all raw materials are checked, and it was found that all raw materials came from the same vendor, and on investigation is found that the carboxymethyl cellulose which was used, it came from a company. We have changed its location of supply from Europe to their American sources. Although the same company, American factories, qualified to the same processes, same specification. How it was noted when we did a microscopy of the or morphological examination of the excipient from the your fiber structure of those of the carboxymethyl cellulose of the American facility and that of the European facility are different. So their water holding capacities are different, and that's how it is causing difference in terms of dissolution. So these are the characteristics one has to be aware of. It is not that only R&D will understand everything, and these changes are not triggered by R&D. Although there is a change control process, examination, and all these things, but despite that, this has happened, and then an additional specifications were adopted. This is a part of the job of what I'm calling compliance-oriented technical competency for the manufacturing people. The maintenance and control of master document. These are is a kind of a routine date, but it's a compliance-oriented technical competency, because you maintain master document, but how to maintain, how to control, how the logs are controlled, how their versions are controlled, and how the traceability, their linkages. That is a compliance-oriented technical competency the manufacturing people need to understand. Process stage-wise review reconciliation of batches with accounting of wastage, stability control, sample release status. Many times we have seen that people have forgotten to take out control samples, forgotten to send the stability samples. And another thing, so far as reconciliation is concerned, have you ever heard that you are likely to get higher yield than theoretical yield? This happens, but this has to be, and this happens for a genuine technical reason, and that has to be explained to the regulators when they come and find, and they will jump on your head when they find that your actual yield is much more than theoretical yield. This happens in process-wise water absorption. Especially you make some products like, typically I'm giving a simple example, paracetamol tablets. Paracetamol samples, you always get your actual yield more than your theoretical yield. This happens because in paracetamol statin, you have to moisten at a lubrication stage, and while you are moistening, and in such a way that the moistening has to be, moisture content has to be maintained to above 3%. The additional quantity of water is to be added, and that water gets reflected into the weight of the tablet, and finally unless you do a weight correction in terms of your water content, then you will end up getting your higher weightage. And it is accepted also regulatory as long as your assay and impurity profiles are within range. So reviewing and reconciling batches is very important regulatory oriented technical competency. Maintenance of equipment, tool, instrumentation log, the punch replacement, the filling syringe replacement from time to time. What criteria, how the punches are inspected, and how the dies are inspected, on what criteria, entering their history sheets. These are required to be presented to the regulatory agencies, and that is in every overseas regulatory inspection. The inspector spends a lot of time in your die punch tooling room, change part rooms, and their logs are checked. Whether equipments are the periodic examination has been captured, then how many batches and how the usage has been calculated. If during manufacturing you have some punches are broken, those punches are how they are replaced, what is the age of that punch, how they were tracked. So this is a special competency, the regulatory oriented manufacturing competency. The QA will not come and explain. It is a manufacturing person, he has to come and explain scientifically. Understand the manufacturing documentation, traceability, including basic principles and data generation. It looks very innocuous and obvious, but I'll just show you one thing. A principle I think many of you have learned nowadays, regulatory subject is taught in the academics, called ALCOA principle. ALCOA principle, what is ALCOA? Attributable, legible, contemporaneous, original, and accurate. Attributable, it should be who has done when, at what point, it has to be traceable. And this record you cannot change. Legible means you cannot write with pencil or such an ink which vanish or fade, right? And just to be durable. Contemporaneous, most important. I will give some example of it, how people in Indian facility, initially they used to make this mistake. The data should be recorded at time when the work is performed. Many times when you are recording a batch, a particular operation, we write the time. And when we write the time, we are very casual in writing the time. And in the factory, there are many watches. Sometimes during audit, what happened, in good old days, people used to write from their own watch, which does not happen now. Watch is not allowed to be taken in the manufacturing area. So all companies keep watch, of course. Unless the time is synchronized in all the watch, periodically or by digitally, with an international timing traceability, you are not sure the timing you are recording, they are not same. And most important and more simplistically is that you have visibility of that watch from your place where you are recording touch. Suppose an incident happened that somebody working in a filling room, he was writing the weighing time or volume checking times. And when the auditor came and asked that from which watch or which clock you have recorded the time, he told there is a clock in that. The auditor told me, you show me from your workplace whether you can see the clock. Then the operator could not show. He was writing the time on his own. So unless you clearly write, have a watch, a calibrated, synchronized data and time recording, you have an integrity issue in terms of your data. You hear a lot about data integrity. Of course, that is mostly in QC side, but in production area also, we land up unknowingly in our data integrity by being casual in recording in time, date, and putting your signature. Sometimes somebody records and somebody else's signs. This is not allowed. This is called forging of data. The person who has done, his sign is there, or there has to be an SOP by virtue of which you have authorized that person to do on your behalf, and there is a linkage clear, so it's not allowed. It has to be original. Original in the sense, we have a habit both in many places in India, that both in QC I have seen and also in the production, people write in small sheets. I have seen somebody has written in his hand with a pen and then copied it in the BMR. Even during audit in a department, he has suddenly taken note of the operator's hand, something written, some data is written with a pen. And so what is written in your hand? Well, I have written some data. Then what you have done with it? Well, I have then copied in the BMR. Well, then your record is not original. Your small sheets of paper on which you have recorded, that is also not acceptable. That data has to be captured on the point of your generation and recorded at the same time. And accuracy is, of course, obvious. Further compliance oriented is logging and investigating incidences, deviation, failure generation, and implementing CAPA, when corrective and preventive action. People take corrective and preventive action very kind of a casually, but this is the place where you get the observations from the regulatory agencies. For example, you have taken a corrective and preventive action and implemented it, and after 2 years you have got the same reason, and then again you have written some corrective and preventive action, which triggers a point that your corrective and preventive action is either not well thought of or not properly implemented. So while generating a corrective and preventive action and writing, this has to be understood very seriously and scientifically. This is the competency to able to understand and to write. How to generate change control, what causes change control generation, which are planned changes, then status leveling control, then training and qualifying people in a compliant way. This is not only for injectable, this is also important for the solid oral and any other dosage form, even for API. This is a competency, training your people who will be operating the machines. And every training has a time period. All trainings are not endless. Today, there are systems, I will tell at the end if I find time, that if your training validity is expired, you will not be allowed to enter the room. The room door will not open. The machine button will not start. PLC will not allow you to access the start menu of the. This is how the controls are getting exercised. I'm not telling you to migrate to such sophisticated thing. At least understand in principle in terms of training, qualifying, and there is a time limit for your training and updation of training record. And above all, as I've told you that in this company, responding to the question and demonstrating during audit is sometimes which is lacking, and this is a competency to be acquired. Cross-functional technical, sometimes we restrict ourselves to the boundary. Say, we think that quality is quality people's job, understanding quality in science, because today manufacturing is manufacturing for building quality. Today, if you see the 20th century manufacturing science, a lecture given by Dr. Ajaz Hussain, who is the ex-FDA director, who is of course Indian. He is the father of this manufacturing quality science. It is a more of a manufacturing people who can understand. In fact, quality people, traditional quality people will not understand that. Operating characteristics, the theories of samplings, that there are, whether the size of the samples are okay, whether they are representatives, there are typical characteristics, there are sampling by attributes, sampling by, there are many criteria. That's why that is required to be understood in sense, and how to build quality. This itself is science. Unfortunately, in our academic curriculum, it is only analysis and quality systems that is taught, not the quality manufacturing science is taught. This is, you learn in industry, this has become a part that the QBD concept has come from manufacturing. It is not a quality subject. It is a QBD concept, quality by design, is from manufacturing. This is a part of the manufacturing competency. Packaging is something different from traditional manufacturing, but it is something which is required to be done. If those, especially who would like to migrate to packaging as a profession, but it is the thing which is not to be ignored. There are very sophisticated technology in packaging, especially in terms of packaging material. There are both solid oral, injectable, and especially in terms of devices which have come. It is an area. There are plenty to learn, plenty to contribute. In terms, when you learn or derive a technical competency, you have an obligation to contribute. This is something which has to be imbibed in our learning and competency development. Equipment and facility erection commissioning, critical utility. It is like more of an engineering function, but that's why I've given it included the cross-functional. But every manufacturing person has to know how his equipment is installed. I will give an example. In my career learning, an equipment was giving a weight variation after every 50 vials. It was giving a weight variation, because vials are filled nowadays not by volume but by weight, and then with specific gravity you can convert. This was found because the syringe is a volumetric piston pump syringe filling. There was a little jerk coming after certain interval. Then we traced it out. It was found this is happened because of the leveling problem of the machine. When the machine was installed, the machine's water leveling 00 was not checked. So engineering function will do in their way, but the person who accepting the facility with the machine, he is not sensitive about machine erection commissioning. Similarly for the things like I have seen from my experience in one places, this is a frequency control drive to which a very low volume, low dosage product fill volume was being filled in a pre-filled syringe operation where we are getting weight variation. This was found that the where the filling machine is installed, its drive is very, very close to another machine, or rather very close to another operating machine, which has a magnetic field around it. And that magnetic field was creating an eddy current, and that was causing the drive of the filling mechanism, automated, very highly sophisticated machine, to behave differently. So these are the engineering aspects to be taken care during equipment facility erection, and this is a competency you have to learn from your interdisciplinary colleagues. Measurement science, fundamental of instrumentation and control, different types of sensors and calibration. Because today all equipments are sensor based, right? And also measurement units are also related to the various kinds of sensors. There are weight sensor, there are volume sensor, temperature sensor, pressure sensor, vacuum sensors, there are capacitors, and unless you know them, if you are, because most of the cases when you calibrate a autoclave, use thermocouples. The autoclaves, there are resistance temperature detector called RTDs, and whereas when you calibrate with a thermocouple, there are various kinds of thermocouple, R type, T type, J type thermocouples. Unless you have used a thermocouple without a cold junction box, which is known as a cold junction box, and this cold junction box is very important because it distorts the signals, and or if you have a twisted joint somewhere in an instrumental where you are likely to get a different temperature reading. So this is a discipline of instrumentation engineer. I think we as a manufacturing pharmacist, we have obligation to learn, otherwise we are accountable. So wherever you are accountable, you have to learn. I am coming to a place where as I told you, some course of time, you feel like changing the discipline. While it is easier to change your discipline or dosage form manufacturing competency from one area to another, it is easier to do in a non-parenteral area. For example, as long as you understand the principles. So when you are making tablet and you go to making ointment, actually you are basically dealing with shears. When you are mixing granulating, where you are making ointment, you are doing it shear principles. Only the materials are different, their shear weights are direct. The agitators' behaviors are different, but ultimately it is mixing and agitation. So there are similarity. Materials may be different, the process steps may be different. It is only maybe little the critical parameters you have to know, and the metal characteristic you have to know. The environment conditions may be little different. But while making a change from non-parenteral to parenteral dosage area, it is a big mindset change. So you have to make up your mind. It needs a big change in mindset for long working in a confined space with complex gowning, sanitation procedure, and strict work discipline regime, which becomes a way of life. Are you prepared mentally? But there are rewards for parenterals. Generally, salaries are higher. The skills are, competitions are less, and the sophisticated technology are coming in the global scenario. Injectable dosage forms demands are coming up more, and newer drugs which are getting discovered. I think 70% of them are now new molecules are coming in as the injectables. So you think the future business is for injectables, but you have to sacrifice and being mentally prepared to grab that opportunity. And so what you have to do is to take a fresh sensitization education program and to do a lot of unlearning, both your education as well as your workplace, and do a fresh learning in terms of microbial inventor control, endotoxin control, sterilization and aseptic practices, and simulation and media fill. These are, you have to do absolutely like as if you are getting a fresh BPharm degree, right? Get educated in steam thermodynamics, because steam chemical engineers understand pretty well. We have a subject called pharma engineering, but as a student, we do not take much of a interest and depth in terms of understanding steam tables, the difference between superheated, saturated, how do they behave, what is their impact in sterilization, and their overall thermal behavior, their expansion, contraction, adiabatic cooling. Those principles are very applicable, and it is very important to know in injectable side when it comes to in a high pressure, a high vacuum, or cascading sterilizer. Then fluid dynamics means I had to go to Bernoulli's equation practically every day when I was installing a facility and designing, because in a facility, not only your liquid dynamics, you have a lot of fluid dynamics, means air. You have a computational fluid dynamics application to know the air behavior, air flow pattern. And liquid pumping system is a very important to know in a, although it is important to know in a oral liquids, but also important to know in a your injectable facility. And most important, the quality attributes and critical process parameter for the injectable. Usually injectable is absolutely totally ball game, because the impurities are generated pretty high, especially when you thermally sterilized. Aseptic filtration is a very sophisticated process, especially integrated testing, filter selection, filter compatibility, understanding, and the filter configuration. So I just want to give a few tips which are known to you, but from my experience, what I want to tell you, first of all, while making care, be open for being placed in any location or any department. Don't be fussy to begin with. Making entry is most different. You can change afterwards, but wherever they place, take a change. So whenever I was hired first in industry, I came first from the inspector of drugs, was my first job. Then I came to industry. When I was hired for a position of a production, but I was told you have to work in store for 6 months. So I received goods, I posted in the bin cards like a stores clerk, I moved material, I dispensed materials, I issued materials. So this is one thing, is an example, worst example one has to go through, but I migrated and in the same company. You have to prove your mettle, and that is how you get picked up. On your job, ask question. If you have any doubt, don't assume, because assumption is the worst thing, and nobody will tell no if you ask a pertinent question, even maybe a silly question. So, but if you assume that I thought, the word I thought is actually the greatest sin in manufacturing. You cannot think anything. You have to know. So don't assume. Very useful, I found. Maintain a personal notebook for capturing new technical detail, but don't steal or make any unauthorized copy of any document. But today, after this lot of integrity issue in the Indian manufacturing company, in bigger companies, you are not allowed to carry any personal notebook or a paper in a manufacturing area. So what you do, you can keep in your house. Whatever you learn on the day, note down in the notebook, and maybe go through when you get time, because that will pay you a lot. Actually, I forgot strip packing machine. What would be the packing is a very obsolete packing. But when I went for a loan license site just to have a look at, and I saw that they are maintaining strip packing, and I thought that what should be the actually ideal temperature for strip packing, roller temperature. Then I browsed through my old notebook of my beginning days of 1970s, where I have written this is the temperature range. This should be the cutoff point. This should be the setup point of any strip packing. So I was pleasantly surprised, and this was useful. So I'm not telling, anything will be useful, so capture, but don't steal any document or any unauthorized copy of a document. Because in industry nowadays, everything is logged. Everywhere there are CCTV camera, you will spoil your career. Revisit books and internet sources. People give up reading after joining industry, but reading and regularly browsing, whatever you learn in your workplace, please refer to the internet resources and revisit books, sometimes textbooks, and most important is voluntarily disclose mistakes, errors committed by you on time or in time. Because in industry, nobody punishes, at least organized company, they don't punish for mistake. They will punish for hiding mistake. So this is the principle in life. If you want to survive in industry, don't hide mistake and don't keep within you. You have to intimate on time, because if you intimate on time, it can be corrected. If you don't intimate time, you implement later or something is discovered, then it has no meaning and you lose the value of a disclosure. Do not change or destroy any document, data or record. This is the greatest data integrity crime, which in recent times Indian company has been caught by the overseas regulators. Learn interdisciplinary technical language, principle and concept, especially from engineering and instrumentation. I have already told. Participate in cross-functional discussion during tech transfer forums. When R&D people come, understand special physical characteristics of the key input material and participate in the discussion. It's not necessary that you know everything, but you will learn. Participate in failure investigations and learning exercise. If you see only QA will investigate or some senior person will investigate, you will never learn. You have to have your inquisitiveness in terms of learning for what the failure has taken place. Special attention during breakdown, repairing, preventive maintenance, assembly of equipment. And this is the time you will know and understand the equipment. During breakdown, during repairing, during assembly and disassembly of the equipment, especially complex machines, will understand during all disassembly or during when there is a problem, where the gears are there, where the bearings are there, what kind of bearings are there, what for the bearing failed. So these kind of things. I'll give you an example how a machine failed. That a machine failed, the investigation said the bearing failed. Why the bearing failed? The bearing failed because the oil supply to the lubricant supply to the bearing has failed. Why the lubricant supply has failed? Because the filter of the lubricant got choked due to deposition of dust. So you can find that the true root cost. So why you can install a true filter replacement policy. So that is how understanding the oil filter replacement policy. So understanding the equipment will improve when you really pay attention to the equipment during its breakdowns or repair or assembly or cleaning. Understand technicality of valves, seals, piping, toolings and change parts. Participate in their assembly, disassembly, replacement and procurement. Take interest in learning various kinds of drives, sensings, control system, recipe setting, PLC, as I already told. Because knowing drives is very important, because most of the machines are no longer mechanical drives. There are some mechanical interface, but primarily more frequency control, electrical frequency control, which are measured in hertz. And knowing those drives, various kinds of drives, is very important. I'm telling you, in injectable function today, you cannot operate without knowing the various kind of drives. Other drives also, and especially for seals, I have seen drive seals in rapid mixer granulator. There is a Z seal at an air part seal at the bottom of the mixer, where from normally the black particles come. And this black particle generation, unless you know the seal mechanism and those seal replacement schedules, and you don't know how to examine the seals, you will not be able to prevent the generation of black particles in tablets. You can go on taking fresh batches, but after a few batches or even cleaning will not help you. So that's what I am taking these recipes. PLC and other machine interface. Understanding PLC, there are various kinds of PLC. There are various makes of PLC, and all PLCs don't talk to each other. When you know, you have to install a series of machines. For example, filling, sealing, rubber stoppering, there are series of machines. If these PLCs have different makes or different versions, and then these PLCs may not talk to each other. You need a separate platform to these PLCs to communicate to each other. So understanding your knowledge in PLCs is also will help you. I'm not telling in all these areas to become an expert or very highly knowledgeable person. At least understand the language. That will help you. Take a look at the HUs, boilers. Visiting to the service floors will give you a lot of source of learning. Compressors, water systems. Go to the utility area. Make observation during preventive maintenance. when the preventive maintenance normally used to happen in the holidays and weekly offs. So what I used to do, I used to go to the factories in the morning. And that time, of course, I was bachelor, so I could go. I could afford to go, and I used to participate and make observation. And many of I have advised most of my juniors that when they do the preventive maintenance, please will come and see. They must be doing the preventive maintenance or whether they are really doing. And I also found in some cases while replacing HEPA filters, they have done in such a foolish way, because engineers may not know the intricacies of the HEPA filters, how they are to be handled, and they are spoiling the HEPA filters. And there are many things you will discover, and you will also learn in the process. This is in nutshell. I just wanted to share with you, but what I just want to part with some of the emerging technologies. We have started witnessing those in India, but in your time, when you will make your career or the peak of the career, you will witness those technologies. And if some of these things are arranged, so it's better to know at least the headlines. Ultra low, high potent contained manufacturing. Contained manufacturing are there in oncology manufacturing, in sex hormone manufacturing facilities, and some of the immunosuppressant manufacturing areas. But ultra low dose facilities are very less in this country, but it will be coming, because most of the APIs which are getting discovered now, new APIs, the doses are very low, and most of them are insoluble. So those insoluble ultra low dose, you have to know. And what is ultra low dose, at least for in an oral context? Ultra low is those which are less than 100 microgram per dose, and less than 0.3 to 1% of their drug loading. And low dose are which are low dose? Which are less than 1 milligram per dose, or less than 0.3 or say 3% of their drug loading. These range. These are called ultra low dose and low dose. Many people may not be able to have that clarity. And in future, those drugs are coming the ultra low dose. And if you get in your any kind of opportunity to learn those kind of facility, get a job in those facilities, don't hesitate to join, visit even at a lower salary. Small volume, quick changeover, flexible, single-use manufacturing system for multiple products shared manufacturing facility. What happens, in a single facility, you can rarely afford to make one product. Your economics will not allow you to. What happens is that these economics can work provided you manufacture their multiple products, but there is a regulatory restrictions. The doses are so low that the cleaning validation is not possible, or limit of quantitation, limit of detections you cannot really achieve by any analytical methods. So in that case, you have to either have a dedicated facility or have a single use, quick changeover, flexible. So there are plastic bag-like container surfaces which are used one time, thrown away. And they are very sophisticated manufacturing facilities nowadays, primarily being used for biotech products, but it will also come for in your time. Particle engineering oriented and co-processed excipient-based manufacturing systems. We have already started getting this technology in India. Some companies have already. Your excipient is part of the drug. Drugs or excipients are processed together and supplied to you. You have to do certain other processing. So these manufacturing systems, multi-particulate liposomal nanodispersion based parenterals, and even Indian companies have started exporting for cancer liposomal drug manufacturers. The next to the innovators, the innovators factory in US, actually it went for a warning letter. So the US citizens were not getting the life-saving anti-cancer drug. So government of India, US, by a presidential decree, allowed one Indian company to supply that. And that technology, fortunately, was developed by that company. So it could be replaced, and that company got a presidential award in US. So this is the kind of new things which has happened. And nanodispersion are the new molecules, as I told, very low solubility drugs are coming. You get a lot of nanodispersion based formulation. The process analytical technology, you might have heard name, it will need a separate lecture. But process analytical part of the quality management and quality by design, and it takes into consideration the variabilities of input and process. Our traditional quality management system have assumed that or are considered that all inputs will fall within certain range of specification of quality. But this, how do you know that range and specification is good enough? Because we don't know the real behavior and the technological constraint of that particular input. There are variations in the manufacturer's vendors side also. So understanding variation is the greatest challenge today to the manufacturing. The PAT, the process analytical technology, it takes care of the variability, takes into consideration of the variability of your inputs, and accordingly adjust the process in a validatable area, in a validatable way, and that's how it actually delivers controls the process, and thereby delivers an assured output. Today in India, some facilities have come, especially in bending and granulation endpoint and milling technology. They have put this value and used NIR technology, near infrared technology, and this is also will be widespread, because today at least I would say around 50% of Indian companies have at least at the level of warehouse identification, raw material or dispensing identification purpose, they are using handheld NIR guns, which is linked to your quality control system. So at least there is no physical examination required. Directly, you know the physical characteristic of the input from the product container at warehouse only. You don't have to depend on the sampling of the material for the warehouse. When without opening a container, you know the physical characteristic or at least identity of the product is established. You don't have to do a separate IR. So those technologies have come already, and at least in 50% of organized companies, they have this system. But I thought you would know this, and in your time, it will be 100% companies will do this. Innovative container cleanser delivery device oriented filling, especially nasal delivery system. Then is a continuous manufacturing system. India, it has not yet come because current Indian regulatory system has not been able to accept it. In US, already 4 products have approved. Big companies have already delivered this commercially, and mostly the AIDS product, oral products have the continuous manufacturing. Means you go on sending material, means putting material from one side and the output will come from other side. And there is no batch concept. And the release of the product is by parametric release. You monitor the parameter, and where the PAT assisted manufacturing in control, online controls are there. You have to understand, I don't have time today to really dwell on this technology, and especially the terminologies online, inline, offline. Do you know the difference between this? What is online, inline, the offline technology, measurement technologies? So these are the kind of things you have to know. And once you are in the industry, it's not that many quality assurance, quality control people will also know. But as a good manufacturing, competent manufacturing person who wants to grow, these are something one expected to have. Another technology, all the overseas, which has come, commercial products are available. There are also 8 products have been approved. It's called 3D printing technology. It is a 3D printing, 3D printing. But instead of the ink, this is your pharmaceutical excipients and the drug in the form of a hot melt extruded product is put. And the dosage form is deposited on special edible paper on a 3-dimensional objects. And these 3-dimensional objects may be in layers, it may be different shapes. For pediatric product in the shape of a toy, and this has become very popular and an immense potential of being popular, and very complex drug delivery systems are being done 3D printing coupled with hot melt extrusion technology. So what is a big challenge and opportunity for the manufacturing guys is that it's a manufacturability issue. In a global survey, it has been found 2020, 65% of the products developed in pharma space were not manufacturable when taken as such for commercial scale production or through technical transfer. A large number of products approved as NDA, ANDA could not be manufactured in commercial scale. The FDA is approved. Clinical studies, biostudies has been done. So, and these are reality. it's not that whatever R&D develops can be manufactured. So manufacturability is a big issue in the global manufacturing scenario, and R&Ds, they are steering their hair to solve the problem. And a conservative global estimate of the value loss only in cost of the material loss due to this process failure because of the manufacturability at as early as 2014 was $22 billion. You can estimate the potential if somebody address this issue. That is why it is all now manufacturing through process understanding, and this is the future global scenario for pharma manufacturing. So modern pharmaceutical manufacturing process evolving on digitalization platform and using a tools of process analytics. I've told the process analytics means sensing, advanced process control. See, who can create a virtual product, virtual process, both hardware as well as process, which is called a digital twin. You can simulate manufacturing conditions without even material, only feeding the density, specific gravity, particle nature data of that material, and you are able to simulate and predict the failure modes. You can do the all anomaly, you can predict, you can simulate, and that is how the new digital manufacturing system is evolved. Another change which is coming and it will take shape is called the Pharma 4 or Industry 4.0. It is coming to all manufacturing sector. Pharma sector, the name is Pharma 4.0. Why it is 4? Because first industrial revolution is manufacturing with machine. Second industrial revolution is manufacturing with mass production, for mass, not one or two tablets or something like that, or for home consumption. Then came the third industrial revolution is the computer-based manufacturing, means computer-controlled manufacturing. This is the third industrial revolution, which is already we are in. And now the fourth industrial revolution, which is coming, that is called Industry 4. And this is called cyber physical system and industrial and cloud-based your industrial Internet of Things, a combination of both. And this International Society for Pharmaceutical Engineering have coined the term Pharma 4.0. And the vision statement is manufacture pharmaceutical products with maximum product process understanding and data integrity by design. Today for data integrity, you have to be alert, you have to be knowledgeable and all. But here data integrity is assured by design. Nobody can compromise the data integrity. Efficiency is built. The resources allocation automatically will be very optimal, and it is full of digital transparency. And so ultimately objective is the process understanding. If you manufacture through process understanding, you transfer a product to a process understanding, you release a process to a process understanding, then you don't have to depend on a very sampling based product release or a reliance on sampling. Sampling is a very inaccurate subject by itself, but unfortunately for whatever legacy reason we have to follow this. But today the world is progressing towards that, and this is my favorite slide. Wish you a successful career, and my presentation ends here.
Wow. Really, it was a great presentation.
Sorry, sir, can you, sorry, sir.
Yeah.
Sampad, sir, can you stop the sharing of the screen?
Sure, that will be good.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Milty, you want to say something? Or
no, sir, just yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was really a great presentation, and the whole industry, I think we had the participants had a very good vision of modern industry and what is happening in the industry. You said it in a very simple way, but said a lot of complex things and lot many things which I think the participants they took, means they did not remove their eyes from their laptops. It was really good. So there has been a few questions, and I think I'll just couple them for so that because there are quite a few and many you can see in the question answer session also there. See, one simple question, that is one anonymous attender is here. I don't know why he is always writing anonymous attender. Yesterday also he was there and I wanted him to identify himself. And so that is why I don't think I should read his questions.
But what you can, I can suggest that you can club the question in groups which are similar. So that it will be easy to answer.
Yeah. That will be easy. One thing someone is asking about nano robots and automated bots having artificial intelligence. It means use of artificial intelligence in these things. Yeah.
See, the artificial intelligence and big data, these are the subject which people are talking about it. There is already application, but not exactly in a commercial scale in a manufacturing setup. Those are there's a tremendous potential, especially, for example, if you do a market complaint analysis trained, then you generate your corrective and preventive action through an artificial intelligence system. These some people have already started talking about it. But on an implementation level, in pharma sector, artificial intelligence is taking entry. They are on a workbench level, and they are not a very visible area. So people know about it. They are experimenting. They are trying to know the limits and where to modify the application. There is a lot of time. I'm telling the people as the fresh entrants, I always tell them, please know your physical system of manufacturing first. Unless you know your physical system of manufacturing, then all sophistications you will not be able to really do justification. Means you will not to talk to your cyber system or even your digital system unless you know your hard physical system well. So artificial intelligence is fine. It will first take in a market interface area. Of course, in a technical area, in other industry they are talking about. There are some places outside India they have already gone for it, but in pharma industry, artificial intelligence in manufacturing is still little difficult. But I have personally created a sketch in one of the organizations I have worked, where artificial intelligence has a very big scope, and there is an experimentation going on. Is machine learning from past failures. What kind of breakdown has taken place in a set of machine or a kind of machine, understanding, generating that knowledge, and that knowledge translated into actionables through artificial intelligence and into a training mechanism to the people, translated into training mechanism, is something I have already conceived. And in fact, it was, I don't know now what is the fate of it. It is, after that I had retired, but I have given a platform of that kind.
Yeah. So here, one Abhishek Arang, he has asked a very pertinent question as far as the present COVID situation is concerned. Actually, he has asked that in this pandemic situation, he is unable to finish his MPharm, although there is, without examinations or with very little examinations, the MPharms, people will be passing out of these final years nowadays. and it is very uncertain whether the exams will be there or not, or what will happen. So in this case, whether it will be difficult, or whether he should, whether it's difficult to enter in an industry or academics or whichever field in this situation. He's asking for a solution.
Yeah. The solution is this. All of us know the limitations and the constraints. For the employer's point of view, as long as the business runs, employer will, business picks up, will be willing to take people. But what is important is that your MPharm degree is not the final criteria for your entry. You already have a qualification, you have a graduate degree, and if you give a brief communication to them, stating that what are the subjects you have worked and what you are expected, what your past academic history, and what are the areas you are specializing in, what you are looking for, and write a very positive letter, your interest of the areas of learning, and of course relevant to that company's business. Few companies' businesses, know the companies, visit the website, which are their areas of development which are taking place. And if you want to make entry, you can give a commitment that I'm sure if whenever I will appear for, then I will comply, I will pass, and then I will be able to meet your expectation. So people are getting offered later. I will tell you, before getting degree, before get an offer letter, I'll tell you the my daughter's case, who's of course not in India. She stays in US. She finished her PhD, but she did not get her degree. But actually, she has been offered well before submission of her thesis for a job from a very big multinational company. It happens only because she just told them, I am completing my PhD, such and subject. This is my thesis material I have worked on, and I'm looking for job. That's all. They organized a internet, means your online interview. 4 interviews took place, and then offer was given immediately. And they told, we don't want to lose good people. There will be recruitment ban. Please do join immediately. You can complete your PhD. You can go back with just for submission of thesis or whatever, and for appearing for interview. And of course, this is almost a 1 year back. I mean, your 6 months back information, but she is on the job. So I just suggest taking a cue from that, approach the employer, prospective employers, give your profile. I'm sure if they see a candidature in you who they don't want to lose, you are likely to get a job.
Devajyoti Ganguly, he's asking a very specific question, that the difference between the horizontal and vertical career progression.
Yeah. Vertical progression means you are today officer, you become as a supervisor, you become officer, you become your assistant manager, you become manager, then you become plant manager, then you become vice president, and then president. This is vertical progression, right? But horizontal progression is some that you are a manager of, you suppose you are heading a particular department now. Then you can, your span of control can increase. You can become responsible for 4 departments, 3 departments, or you can take transfer to another department, another dosage form, and learn and increase your chance of getting larger responsibility in future. Or if a new plant is coming up from somewhere, you are with the first candidate to jump there and get a job at a maybe same or a higher salary. So these are this is the difference between vertical and horizontal progression. Examples.
I think the present China-India relationship has triggered this question, that how we can improve or increase the API productions, whether API productions can be increased in India or what is being done. I can add to that.
Yes, I say theoretically yes. Say in terms of technological know-how and competence, there is no doubt. There is no doubt. In India, we can do it yesterday. Only because we follow environmental law, certain reactions we cannot conduct. In good old days, I know that when I was at the beginning of some of the career, I used to know some manufacturers who used to manufacture certain very toxic intermediates. In India, those cannot be manufactured legally, those intermediates, to manufacture certain secondary intermediates. So in those toxic, they used to go into the jungles of Madhya Pradesh, and they used to take all the illegally, all those plastic containers, plastic vessel, disposable equipment, used to manufacture those intermediates for say 2-3 months, and then to destroy the facility and make money and come out. That's how India used to get those toxic intermediates. China, they can afford to make everything. They have less regard for environmental clearance. So there are certain intermediates which we ethically do not manufacture. We have to depend on China. So the one issue is that maybe if Government of India for some short time, we give some kind of leniency and create certain zone where those difficult and health hazard reactions can be carried out and temporarily, and then we can dispose of the facility. Meanwhile, we'll generate alternate functional bypass routes for manufacturing those intermediates. It is feasible, and I'm sure the people must be working already on those alternate routes where those intermediates can be prepared through clean manufacturing system. We have not talked, that is a big discussion in API in Europe about the clean manufacturing processes through which your carbon generation is reduced, your other toxic waste generation reduced, and we can invent those. These are also kind of, there can be startups on those. You prepare only difficult intermediates without creating toxicity. Without toxicity means environmental toxicity, or without creating pollution. So this is the way you have to work out. I'm sure the country has potential to do that.
Yeah. Some of the students, they have asked, see, this is really a problem for the new BPharm students who are passing out, that many of them, they want to go for manufacturing industrial jobs. But definitely the chances are very less. In scope, it seems they are very less. And industries, they want experienced candidates. Hardly they want to take, means hardly there is any interviews being conducted much for this type of production or quality control, etc. As compared to the marketing, etc.
Yeah, I understand.
So how to go about that?
See,
this is asked by Priya.
This is primarily problem of Bengal, and there are too many small scale, and the industry in a state of small and medium. I cannot say even medium in terms of their capability, financial capability, and their business areas on a limited business and a highly competitive areas, work on tenders, those kind of scenario. This is reality. This is fact. I suggest that please don't hesitate to join. Put a fitting. At least you know the basic operations, unit operations, and whatever salary, don't worry about salary. Even if you work for 1 year at a very struggling condition, you learn something. Another option, move out, go to other province, other states, where many of your seniors have rather ventured into and made career there. And certain states you will find those restrictions in terms of entry to other states. People are not there. Many places you have a very close area like Sikkim, you will get a plenty of job opportunity. In fact, the current route is people are going to Sikkim, learning from there, building their CV, your curriculum vitae, and from there they go to in the Western India or get tech transferred into the Western India. The new industries complex coming in Guwahati in our time, rather in not our time, much later. There are industries coming in Jammu, Uttarakhand. People have gone there, made career. People from Odisha have shown the path in a long way. They have migrated. There are alumni who have migrated to the various places. They have helped to arrange for the interviews of the people. And I know the people in the West Bengal institutes, their fundamentals are not bad. And those fundamentals are coupled with the industrial, at least little of industrial exposure, they will do well.
Prasun Sinha, he is talking about kappa. Yes, it's vital, but for the unknown problems or which was not in defined documents, how can someone can do a quick response or take corrective actions?
So there are ways to do it. I know this is practically a challenging area for everybody because you cannot get a quick solution to a very difficult problems or perennial problems. This is handled in such as follows. Along with the corrective and preventive action within the corrective, you may not be able to do a root cause, but you can identify a probable root cause or a series of root cause, a number of root causes, and try to address as many as possible, and also declare, although it is a corrective and preventive action, and you are mitigating the risk of out of specification or out of control condition. You are doing a kind of a risk management, and you are drilling down, set a time limit by which you will be able to resolve the problem permanently. But you have to do on a scientific basis the root cause analysis, or rather probable root cause analysis. And whenever there is a kappa issue, do not do by individual function. The kappa is actually interdisciplinary function. It's interdisciplinary work. The manufacturing function may not have all the lineage. So in some of my career investigation experience from manufacturing side, I have found that the instrumentation sensor is the cause. Instrumentation sensor is the cause for sensing the right signal. And sometimes it is the type of sensors which have been selected is not wrong. That the protection level given in the sensor is not correct. You may need an input from the engineering side, may need an input from people who have a good understanding about that molecule, and a synthetic organic chemist. You may need from process development person. You may need some R&D guy. It has to be an interdisciplinary kappa investigation. More people involved, their expertise are brought together, and the scientific methods that you use, the probability of getting success is more.
So your any comments on transfer of technology, particularly in biomedicine, etc.?
Biomedicine, I am not the expert in doing that, but transfer of technology, I have worked in pharmaceutical, biopharmaceutical.
Yeah.
But biomedicines, in fact, covers let's say a bigger area. But say for example, biosimilars. Biosimilars are one of the most difficult area in terms of transfer of technology. It is as good as the R&D has to take full charge of that. It is actually the when you are, and actually where the problem comes from, till the cell lines, when the cell lines are controlled, and then your when you are transferring that material at a different scale, even at the pilot scale, your the concern for foreign DNAs, the amino acid sequences in some cases, those things are very tricky thing to handle. You have to take use of a very complex technology of very high level of technology. Your chromatographic, the purity experiment, the chromatographic technology to at a different level, but very close monitorings are involved. And to be very honest, the biomedicines and biosimilars are a difficult ball game. They need a different kind of understanding. They in fact replicate exactly especially the biosimilars, to really match your originally developed product vis-a-vis your commercial product what you are developing. It takes a series of steps.
One Gaurav Kole, he has asking that whether a non-parenteral industry can start manufacturing means parenterals with some modifications, or what are the type of modifications it requires? I think it's a very big question.
It is a very open question. Whether he wants to or they want to abandon the non-parenteral, or and then
no, it is. It seems his question seems to be add-on.
Add-on. Then you have to build a separate block.
Separate block.
Separate block, and the technology, equipment, and above all mindset. And I would say, if it is a medium, small scale industry, owner's mindset is something is required to be changed for. After commissioning a facility in parenteral, to qualify a facility, it takes 1 year. After you have invested all the equipment, people, environment, your electric bill are running, to really compliant way, we have to make a parenteral facility with buying all raw materials, paying salary. 1 year, there no output will come out. No commercial output will come out, at least.
So, Dr. Miltu Ghosh, whether you have anything to say, please.
Yes, okay. So its discussion is over.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you very much, Mr. Sampad Bhattacharya, for your nice presentation and doubt clearing of questions from participants. And thank you, Professor Ovi Sengupta, for moderating the session in very nice way. So now I am asking Mr. Gautam Sen.
Miltu, just before we end the program, one thing about Mr. Sampad Bhattacharya, I did not mention because it's a very serious type of webinar. See, to all the panelists and to all the participants, that he is a wonderful musician, and yes, he's a wonderful Sharod player. And
so we can
during
request
our reunions, we always used to hear his Sharod, and I have heard that he is playing many other instruments also. So a genius is always a genius.
Yeah,
not
in every aspect. I think in every aspect.
One field, he is in different fields. Right.
And one sentence I can say. Just last day I have asked some your junior of your, but my senior, about the Sampada, and he told me Sampad Bhattacharya is the Sampad of Jadavpur University.
That was a phrase.
Bengali.
I think this phrase was formed by very well known our P.P. Shah. As far as I remember, it was phrased by P.P. Shah. He had also told quite a few times. Yeah. So I think we can call for Gautam Sen.
Yeah. So thank you very much. So now I am asking Mr. Gautam Sen. So please join with us.
Hello.
Hi, Gautam.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Mr. Dr. Arun Garg, Mr. Tapan Chaudhary, Mr. Miltu Ghosh, Mr. Abhijit Sengupta, and all the participants. I am very much grateful to Mr. Sampad Bhattacharya for his such a type of delightful presentation, intermingled with knowledge and practice. Really a great presentation by him, and I think the total presentation, part by part, he can elaborate it for hours and hours, and that will be helpful for the students also. But it is not possible in a single webinar. So I request Mr. Bhattacharya, we again call you for our program, for the particularly for the youngsters who are passing B.Pharm and doing work in different types of industries. Then you should participate in our programs. Dr. Gorg is in webinar. Mintu, please.
Yeah.
Please ask me, Dr. Gorg, to say something, and then I will conclude the program.
Yeah. Dr. Gaur, you want to say something?
Yeah, it's a wonderful because I happened to be in manufacturing for 1 or 2 years in initially my career before joining the academics, and he has touched each and everything. I think it is a very good seminar, excellent seminar, I say, regarding the manufacturing technology transfers, several things he touched very beautifully, and it is in a very lucid and clear language. So thank you so much, sir. As a General Secretary of IPGA, as Gautam Sen has told that we would like to have you in future programs also, so that students gain out of your experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. With these words, again, I thank Mr. Sampad Bhattacharya for his kind participation and cooperation. Regards to all. Now, with these few words, I conclude this program. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So thank you to all of again. So today's participant number was more than 250 in the Zoom, and in YouTube viewers more than hundreds. So hopefully again we'll meet again. Okay, thank you very much. Now can I end the meeting?
Yes.
Sir?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And